Today's story is Mafia boss sees a plus-size entertainer dancing for his paralyzed daughter. Then everything changes. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. If you believe kindness can reach places that money and power cannot, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss another emotional story. Thank you for watching and supporting this community. And tell us in the comments, do you believe one unexpected moment of joy can change the way two strangers see each other? Now, let's begin today's story. Please don't stop. The tiny voice came from the doorway. Alyssa Monroe froze in the middle of the dance. So did 8-year-old Lily Bennett. For the past 3 minutes, the private entertainment room inside the Bennett mansion had been filled with something almost nobody had heard there in months. Laughter. Lily sat in her wheelchair near the enormous windows, her small hands clapping against her lap as Alyssa exaggerated another ridiculous spin. Alyssa was 29, black, beautiful, and proudly plus-size, with warm brown eyes and a gentle face that made children trust her before adults bothered to learn her name. She had been hired as an entertainer for Lily's birthday. Nothing more. The original dancer had canceled that morning, and Alyssa's agency had called her because she could arrive quickly. She'd expected balloons, cake, maybe 12 excited children. Instead, she'd found a mansion full of adults speaking in whispers and one little girl watching the rain. Lily had been paralyzed from the waist down after an accident 11 months earlier. Nobody had told Alyssa that before she arrived. Nobody had told her Lily hadn't smiled during the entire party. So when the other children eventually disappeared downstairs for cake, Alyssa stayed. She turned down the music. Then she noticed Lily staring at the silver ribbons sewn along her costume. "Do you dance?" Lily had asked. Alyssa smiled. Badly. That earned the smallest reaction. A twitch at the corner of Lily's mouth. Alyssa recognized an opportunity. So she danced badly on purpose. She stumbled dramatically, spun too far, nearly collided with a velvet chair. Lily giggled. Alyssa did it. Again, the giggle became laughter. Then Lily lifted her arms. "Can I?" Alyssa stopped. "Can you what, sweetheart?" "Dance too." Something tightened inside Alyssa's chest. She walked toward Lily without pity in her expression. "Who said dancing only happens with your legs?" Lily stared at her. Alyssa raised both arms. "Follow me. Left. Right. Turn the wrists. Shoulders. Clap." Soon Lily was moving with her. Not pretending to walk. Not pretending her body was different. Dancing exactly as she was. That was when the voice came from the doorway. "Please don't stop." Alyssa turned. The man standing there wore a charcoal suit beneath a black overcoat, rain still shining across its shoulders. Nathaniel Bennett, Lily's father. The name people in Chicago lowered their voices to say. Tall, white, broad-shouldered, dark-haired. A man whose expression could empty a room faster than shouting ever could. Alyssa's smile vanished. She had been warned about him. Don't ask questions. Don't wander. Don't involve yourself in family matters. And above all, don't upset his daughter. Alyssa stepped away from the wheelchair. "Mr. Bennett, I'm sorry. The party was downstairs and Lily was alone. So Daddy." Lily's voice cut through her explanation. Nathaniel stopped breathing. His daughter was smiling. Not the polite little smile she gave doctors. Not the exhausted expression she wore when relatives tried too hard to cheer her up. A real smile. Her cheeks were flushed. Her eyes were bright. "Look," Lily said. "I'm dancing." Nathaniel's gaze moved from his daughter to Alyssa. For 11 months, he'd spent money on specialists, equipment, therapists, private consultations, anything that promised Lily a piece of the childhood she'd lost. But somehow, in 3 minutes, a woman he'd never met had given his daughter something none of them could prescribe. Permission to feel whole. Alyssa lowered her eyes. "I should probably leave." "No," Nathaniel's answer came too quickly. She looked up. His face remained controlled, but his eyes had changed. "Finish the dance." Lily reached for Alyssa's hand. Alyssa smiled and returned to her side. The music began again. Nathaniel stayed in the doorway. And as his daughter laughed beneath the warm golden lights, the most powerful man in the house realized he was watching something he couldn't command, purchase, or force into existence. Joy. Then Lily looked at her father and asked the one question that made Nathaniel Bennett go completely still. "Daddy, will you dance with us?" For a man who could command hundreds of people with a glance, Nathaniel Bennett had no idea how to answer his daughter. "Daddy, will you dance with us?" Lily held out her small hand. Nathaniel remained in the doorway. Alyssa saw something flicker behind his controlled expression. Fear. Not fear of danger. Fear of failing the person he loved most. I don't dance, he said. Lily's smile faded slightly. Alyssa looked at Nathaniel, then at the little girl. That's perfect. Nathaniel's eyes narrowed. Excuse me. I specialize in people who can't dance. Lily giggled. Nathaniel stared at Alyssa as though no one had spoken to him that casually in years. That was probably true. Alyssa extended one hand. You don't need choreography. Just follow Lily. Nathaniel should have refused. Instead, he removed his overcoat, then his suit jacket. He crossed the room with the reluctant dignity of a man approaching negotiations he couldn't control. Lily raised both arms. Nathaniel copied her. Awkwardly, Alyssa moved left. Lily followed. Nathaniel moved right. Wrong direction. Lily burst out laughing. Daddy, what? You're terrible. For one suspended second, Nathaniel Bennett looked offended. Then something extraordinary happened. He laughed. Quietly. Almost unwillingly. Alyssa watched father and daughter beneath the golden lights and understood that the sadness in this house belonged to both of them. 11 months earlier, Lily had been riding home with her mother, Claire, when another vehicle crossed the center line. Claire died before the ambulance arrived. Lily survived. Her spinal injury changed everything. Nathaniel responded the only way he knew how. He declared war on helplessness. He hired specialists, imported equipment, converted an entire wing of the mansion for rehabilitation. Every doorway became accessible. Every staircase gained an alternative. Every medical possibility was investigated. Nathaniel could solve practical problems. But grief wasn't practical. Lily stopped asking about school, stopped inviting friends over. Eventually, she stopped laughing. Nathaniel watched it happen while blaming himself for every smile he couldn't restore. The mansion changed with her. Music disappeared. Staff learned to close doors quietly. Even birthday celebrations became careful performances where adults watched Lily too closely, waiting for signs that she was enjoying herself. Alyssa knew none of this when she arrived, but she understood something the others had forgotten. Lily didn't need everyone constantly reminding her what had happened. She needed permission to still be 8 years old. The song ended. Lily clapped. That was horrible, Daddy. Nathaniel picked up his jacket. I'll have everyone involved sign confidentiality agreements. Alyssa laughed before realizing he might be serious. Nathaniel looked at her. Again, that strange almost smile. Then Lily reached for Alyssa. Can she come tomorrow? The warmth vanished from Nathaniel's face. Alyssa noticed. So did Lily. Sweetheart, Nathaniel said carefully. Miss Monroe was hired for your birthday. But she doesn't talk to me like everyone else. The room changed. Nathaniel's jaw tightened. How does everyone else talk to you? Lily looked down at her hands. Like I'm sick. Alyssa's heart sank. Nathaniel slowly crouched beside the wheelchair. You are not sick. I know. Then why didn't you tell me? Lily shrugged. Because you look sad when I talk about it. That sentence struck harder than any accusation. Nathaniel became motionless. He had spent 11 months protecting his daughter from every physical obstacle money could remove. He had never considered that she might be protecting him. Alyssa quietly gathered her things. This was family territory now. She had reached the doorway when Nathaniel spoke. Miss Monroe. She turned. He stood behind Lily's wheelchair, one hand resting gently on the handle. What would it cost? Alyssa frowned. What cost? For you to come back. There it was. The language Nathaniel understood. A problem. A price. A solution. Alyssa looked at Lily. Then back at him. If you're asking me to entertain her, call the agency. Nathaniel's expression hardened slightly. And if I'm asking for something else? Alyssa held his gaze. Then you'll have to figure out what you're actually asking for. Silence. She smiled at Lily. Happy birthday, sweetheart. Then Alyssa walked away. Nathaniel watched her disappear down the corridor. He wasn't accustomed to people leaving before he dismissed them. But that wasn't what unsettled him. For the first time in 11 months, someone had entered his daughter's world without treating her like something broken. And Nathaniel suddenly realized he didn't even know how to ask that woman to come back. 3 days passed before Nathaniel Bennett saw Alyssa Monroe again. Not because he hadn't tried. He had called the entertainment agency the morning after Lily's birthday and offered triple Alyssa's normal rate. Alyssa declined. He doubled it again. She declined again. By the third offer, Nathaniel was irritated. By the fourth, he was curious. Nobody refused Nathaniel Bennett 4 times. Then, on Thursday afternoon, Lily refused physical therapy. I don't want to. Her therapist remained patient. Just 20 minutes today. No, Nathaniel stood outside the rehabilitation room, listening. Before the accident, Lily had been stubborn in ways that made him smile. Now every refusal terrified him. He entered. Lily. She immediately looked away. Your therapist is here to help. I know. Then what's wrong? Nothing. That word had become Lily's favorite hiding place. Nathaniel crouched beside her wheelchair. Talk to me. Lily stared through the window. I want to dance. His chest tightened. You can. No. She finally looked at him. I want to dance like Alyssa showed me. Nathaniel understood. Not rehabilitation disguised as play. Not another adult celebrating every movement as though Lily were completing a medical examination. She wanted music. Ridiculous movements. Laughter. She wanted someone who didn't look frightened whenever she mentioned her wheelchair. Nathaniel stood. 20 minutes later, he was in the back seat of a black sedan. Alyssa worked afternoons at a community arts center on Chicago's South Side. Nathaniel expected a modest dance studio. Instead, he found chaos. Children painted cardboard scenery while teenagers practiced music in one corner. A little boy wearing a superhero cape chased bubbles across the floor. And in the middle of everything stood Alyssa. She wore black leggings, bright sneakers, and a loose yellow sweater. Her natural curls framed her face as she demonstrated an exaggerated shoulder movement to 6 children seated in a semicircle. 2 used wheelchairs. 1 had forearm crutches. Nobody was separated. Nobody was being watched with pity. They were simply children making terrible dance moves and laughing about them. Nathaniel remained near the entrance. Alyssa spotted him. Her smile disappeared. You're persistent. So I've been told. If this is about another offer, it isn't. That stopped her. Nathaniel glanced toward the children. You do this regularly? Every Thursday. For children with disabilities? Alyssa's expression sharpened. For children. Nathaniel realized his mistake. She continued. Some walk. Some don't. Some communicate differently. They all still get to be kids. Nathaniel looked away. He had built Lily an entire rehabilitation wing. Alyssa had created joy with a speaker and colored ribbons. Lily refused therapy today, he said. Alyssa's face softened. I'm sorry. She asked for you. Silence. Nathaniel wasn't accustomed to what came next. He removed his authority from his voice. I don't know what to do. Alyssa stared at him. The confession seemed almost physically difficult for him. I can give her every specialist available, Nathaniel continued. I can make the house accessible. I can protect her. His voice lowered. But I can't make her want her life. Alyssa's eyes softened. There he was. Not the feared man from whispered stories. A father who couldn't command grief to release his child. I'll come, she said. Nathaniel looked up. But not as entertainment. What does that mean? It means Lily decides what we do. No performances for adults. No pretending every movement is therapy. No treating happiness like another medical outcome. Nathaniel considered her conditions. And your fee? Standard rate. I can pay more. I know. Alyssa smiled faintly. That isn't what she needs from you. The answer unsettled him. What does she need? Alyssa picked up her bag. Her father. Nathaniel went completely still. An hour later, Lily heard footsteps outside her room. She expected another therapist. Instead, Alyssa appeared carrying a portable speaker and a bundle of bright ribbons. Lily's entire face changed. You came back. Alyssa smiled. You still owe me a dance. Behind her, Nathaniel watched his daughter reach eagerly for the ribbons. Then Alyssa turned toward him. She held out a blue one. Nathaniel stared at it. For me, you wanted to know how to help. Her eyes were warm but unwavering. Start by joining her world instead of trying to repair it. Nathaniel slowly took the ribbon. And for the first time since the accident, he stepped into his daughter's room without carrying a plan. Don't help me yet. Lily's words stopped Nathaniel halfway across the room. His daughter was reaching toward a bright red ribbon that had slipped from her lap. For 11 months, Nathaniel's instincts had been immediate. Lift, carry, move, protect. Before Lily could struggle, he removed the struggle. But Alyssa remained seated on the carpet. She didn't reach for the ribbon. She simply watched Lily. You've got it, Alyssa said. Lily leaned carefully. Her fingertips brushed the ribbon. Missed. Nathaniel's body tightened. Again, Lily stretched farther. This time she caught it. Her face lit up. I did it. You did, Alyssa said. No exaggerated applause. No voice filled with pity. Just certainty. Nathaniel slowly lowered himself into a chair. He was beginning to understand. Sometimes love rushed in so quickly that it accidentally stole the victory. Music filled the room. Alyssa tied ribbons around Lily's wrists, then gave Nathaniel the blue one he'd reluctantly accepted. Today, Alyssa announced, we're making our own choreography. Lily grinned. Daddy has to do it too. Nathaniel sighed. I was afraid you'd say that. For the next 30 minutes, the feared Nathaniel Bennett became absolutely terrible at ribbon dancing. He moved too stiffly, missed every second beat, nearly struck a lamp. Lily laughed until tears gathered in her eyes. Alyssa laughed too. Nathaniel pretended to be offended, but secretly, he would have embarrassed himself before the entire city to hear that sound again. Then the music softened. Alyssa sat beside Lily. Your turn to invent something. Lily hesitated. I can't do much. The sentence changed Nathaniel's face. Alyssa noticed. She didn't correct Lily immediately. Instead, she lifted one hand. What can this do? Lily raised her hand. Move. And these? My shoulders. Your head. Lily rolled it dramatically. Alyssa laughed. Okay, maybe not like that. Lily smiled. Alyssa leaned closer. Dancing isn't proving what your body can do. It's deciding what you want to say with what you have. Nathaniel stared at her. Those words weren't only for Lily. He knew it. For months, every specialist had measured his daughter against what she'd been able to do before the accident. Strength, range, mobility, progress. Alyssa measured nothing. She simply gave Lily ownership of the body she had now. Lily began creating movements. 2 claps, a shoulder turn, hands sweeping outward, a ribbon circle above her head. Alyssa copied each one. Then Nathaniel. By the end, Lily had invented an entire dance. My dance, she whispered. Your dance, Alyssa confirmed. Nathaniel turned toward the window before either of them saw his eyes. Alyssa saw anyway. Later, after Lily fell asleep, Nathaniel found Alyssa downstairs gathering her ribbons. You made her believe she could still be herself. Alyssa looked up. No, his brow furrowed. She already knew who she was. Alyssa placed the ribbons inside her bag. Everyone around her just became so afraid of hurting her that they stopped letting her discover it. The truth stung. Nathaniel leaned against the doorway. Including me. Alyssa didn't answer. She didn't need to. I thought if I could fix enough things, his voice faded. Alyssa's expression softened. You're her father. Of course you wanted to fix things. I failed. No, the word came firmly. You stayed. Nathaniel looked at her. You think that's enough? Some days, staying is the hardest thing. For a moment, neither spoke. The mansion around them felt different. Less like a monument to everything Nathaniel had lost. More like a home where something might still grow. Then footsteps sounded in the corridor. A tall man in a dark suit approached. Nathaniel's security chief, Grant Mercer. His expression was tense. Mr. Bennett, we need to speak privately. Nathaniel straightened. What happened? Grant glanced at Alyssa. It's about Miss Monroe. The warmth vanished from the room. Alyssa's fingers tightened around her bag. Nathaniel's face became unreadable. What about her? Grant lowered his voice. We ran the background check you requested. Alyssa stared at Nathaniel. You investigated me? Nathaniel didn't answer quickly enough. Hurt replaced the warmth in her eyes. Grant continued. And we found something you need to see. The ribbons in Alyssa's bag suddenly stopped moving. Nathaniel looked from his security chief to the woman who had just brought laughter back into his daughter's life. And for the first time since Alyssa entered the Bennett mansion, trust became more frightening than suspicion. You should have asked me. Alyssa's voice was quiet. That made Nathaniel feel worse. They stood inside his private study while Grant Mercer placed a thin folder on the desk between them. 20 minutes earlier, Alyssa had been laughing with Lily. Now her expression had closed completely. Nathaniel looked at her. In my world, I don't invite people close to my daughter without knowing who they are. Then you should have investigated me before inviting me back. He had no answer. Grant opened the folder. 3 years ago, Miss Monroe worked at the Harbor Light Children's Center. Alyssa's face changed. Nathaniel noticed immediately. Grant continued. She was dismissed after an incident involving a child under her supervision. Nathaniel's eyes hardened. What incident? Alyssa stepped forward. Let me tell him. Grant looked at Nathaniel. Nathaniel nodded. Alyssa took a slow breath. There was a boy named Caleb, 10 years old. He used a wheelchair after a spinal injury. Nathaniel went still. He hated being treated differently. Alyssa continued. So when our group performed at a community festival, I adapted the choreography so he could participate. Her fingers tightened around her bag. During rehearsal, his wheelchair tipped. Nathaniel's jaw clenched. Was he hurt? A bruised shoulder. Nothing permanent. But you were responsible. Yes. The answer came without hesitation. Alyssa looked directly at him. I was. Grant slid another document across the desk. The center terminated her the next day. Nathaniel read the report. Unauthorized activity. Failure to follow mobility protocol. Negligence. Each word became colder than the last. Alyssa watched him reading. She recognized that expression. It was the face people wore when a document became more believable than the person standing in front of them. Why didn't you tell me? Nathaniel asked. Because you hired an entertainer. You came back to work with my paralyzed daughter. And I've never moved Lily without permission. I've never transferred her from her wheelchair. I've never ignored her medical restrictions. That isn't what I asked. Alyssa's eyes flashed. No, you're asking why I didn't introduce myself by telling you about the worst mistake I've ever made. Silence. Grant remained near the door. Nathaniel closed the folder. What happened after Caleb fell? Alyssa swallowed. I stayed with him until his mother arrived. And she thanked me. Nathaniel frowned. Alyssa reached into her bag and removed her phone. She knew Caleb had begged for weeks to participate. She knew I should have gotten formal approval. She also knew I wasn't trying to hurt him. Alyssa opened an old photograph. A smiling boy sat in a wheelchair beneath stage lights, a medal hanging around his neck. Caleb performed 2 months later somewhere else. Nathaniel stared at the image. He kept dancing? He still does. Grant shifted. The dismissal remains documented. I know, Alyssa said. Her eyes returned to Nathaniel. And the center was right about one thing. Good intentions don't erase responsibility. That sentence stopped him. Alyssa wasn't hiding behind kindness. She wasn't claiming innocence. She had made a mistake. Learned from it. Carried it. Nathaniel looked again at the report. Then at the woman before him. Why continue working with children? Alyssa's eyes softened. Because Caleb called me after I was fired. Her voice cracked slightly. He said, please don't stop teaching kids like me just because grown-ups got scared. Nathaniel lowered the folder. For 11 months, fear had governed every decision he made around Lily. Suddenly, that sentence felt uncomfortably familiar. Alyssa picked up her coat. I understand if you don't want me here anymore. Nathaniel looked toward the ceiling. Lily's bedroom was directly above them. He imagined telling his daughter Alyssa wouldn't return. Then imagined why. Not because Alyssa had harmed Lily. Because Nathaniel had discovered proof that she was human. Imperfect. Fallible. Capable of learning. Grant, he said. Yes. Leave us. The door closed. Alyssa waited. Nathaniel walked around the desk. I should have asked you. She said nothing. And I should have told you about the background check. Yes. A faint, almost painful smile touched his face. You don't make apologies easy. They shouldn't be. Nathaniel nodded. Then his expression became serious. I need Lily's medical team to approve everything you do with her. Absolutely. No exceptions. Agreed. And if you're uncertain, I ask. Nathaniel studied her. Then come back tomorrow. Alyssa blinked. You still trust me? Nathaniel looked at the folder one final time. No, her face fell. Then he continued. But I think trust is something people build after they know the truth, not something they pretend to have before it. Alyssa's expression softened. Upstairs, faintly through the ceiling, Lily began humming the melody from their dance. Nathaniel heard it. So did Alyssa. And neither of them knew that by morning, someone else would use Alyssa's past to try to remove her from Lily's life completely. The story reached Lily before breakfast. Someone had sent the Old Harbor Light report to Nathaniel's sister, Victoria Bennett. By 9 o'clock, she was standing in the mansion's drawing room with the printed pages clenched in one hand. You're letting this woman near Lily again? Nathaniel remained beside the fireplace. Yes. Victoria stared at him. She was dismissed for negligence. She made a mistake 3 years ago, with a child in a wheelchair. Alyssa heard the words from the hallway. She stopped. Lily's therapy session wasn't scheduled for another hour. Alyssa had arrived early to review the activities with Lily's physical therapist, exactly as Nathaniel had requested. She hadn't expected to become the morning scandal. Victoria lowered her voice. You're grieving, Nathaniel. You're seeing Lily smile and forgetting how vulnerable she is. His expression hardened. Don't tell me what I'm forgetting. Then remember Claire. The room went still. Nathaniel's face changed. Victoria immediately knew she'd gone too far. But the damage was done. Alyssa stepped into the doorway. Mrs. Bennett. Victoria turned. I'm Alyssa Monroe. I know exactly who you are. Alyssa absorbed the contempt without lowering her eyes. Then you know I accepted responsibility for what happened. I know my niece isn't going to become your second mistake. Nathaniel stepped forward. Enough. But Alyssa raised one hand. No. She has a right to be afraid. Victoria looked surprised. Alyssa continued. If Lily were my child, I'd ask questions too. That answer removed some of the anger from the room. Not all of it. Victoria held up the report. You expect us to ignore this? No, Alyssa's voice remained calm. I expect you to read more than the worst page of my life. Silence. Then a smaller voice came from behind them. What's happening? Lily sat in her wheelchair at the end of the corridor. Everyone froze. Nathaniel moved toward her. Nothing, sweetheart. Lily frowned. That's what adults say when something is definitely happening. Alyssa almost smiled. Victoria didn't. Lily looked at the papers. Is Alyssa in trouble? Nobody answered quickly enough. Her face fell. You're making her leave. Nathaniel crouched beside her. No decision has been made. Why? Victoria approached carefully. Because we want to keep you safe. Lily's hands tightened around her wheels. From dancing? From getting hurt. Lily looked down. The silence that followed was painful. Then she whispered, everybody thinks everything will hurt me. Nathaniel closed his eyes. There it was again. The prison they had built out of love. Lily looked at Alyssa. Do you think I'm fragile? Alyssa walked toward her and knelt, leaving enough space that Lily never felt crowded. I think you're a kid. That's not an answer. Alyssa smiled faintly. You can get hurt. So can I. So can your dad. Nathaniel looked at her. My job isn't to pretend nothing can happen to you. My job is to respect the rules that keep you safe while still letting you have a life. Lily considered that. Then she looked at her father. Is that your job too? Nathaniel couldn't speak for a moment. Yes. His voice was rough. I think I forgot the second half. Victoria lowered the report. Something in her expression softened. Nathaniel stood. From now on, Alyssa's activities with Lily are reviewed by her medical team. No improvising around mobility restrictions. No exceptions. Alyssa nodded. Agreed. Victoria looked between them. And if the doctors object? Then we listen, Alyssa said before Nathaniel could answer. That mattered. Victoria finally placed the report on the table. I still don't trust this. You don't have to, Alyssa replied. Not yet. Nathaniel glanced at her. Again, she wasn't demanding faith. She was offering accountability. Then Grant Mercer entered the room. His expression stopped Nathaniel cold. What now? Grant closed the door. The Harbor Light report wasn't sent only to your sister. Nathaniel's eyes narrowed. How many people received it? Several. Who? Lily's school board. 2 members of her medical team. And a reporter. Alyssa went pale. Nathaniel's voice became dangerously quiet. Who sent it? We're tracing the email. Grant hesitated. But there's more. He placed his phone on the table. A photograph filled the screen. Alyssa leaving the Bennett mansion beside Lily. Taken from outside the gates. Nathaniel's expression turned to ice. Alyssa stared at the image. Someone hadn't simply discovered her past. Someone was watching the house. Lily reached for Alyssa's hand. And in that instant, Nathaniel understood the stakes had changed. This was no longer about whether Alyssa belonged in his daughter's life. It was about who wanted her gone and why. The photograph changed everything. By noon, the Bennett mansion no longer felt like a home. Security guards moved through its marble corridors. Curtains were drawn across the front windows. Every vehicle entering the property was checked twice. And in the middle of it all, Alyssa stood beside the staircase holding her coat. I'm leaving. Nathaniel turned from Grant. No, someone is watching your house because I'm here. We don't know that. My past was sent to your family, Lily's school, her doctors, and a reporter. Then someone photographs me with your daughter. Alyssa's voice remained steady, but Nathaniel could see fear beneath it. I'm not letting Lily become part of whatever this is. Neither am I. Then let me go. Nathaniel stared at her. For most of his life, protecting people meant controlling the danger around them. Remove the threat. Close the door. Increase security. But Alyssa wasn't asking him to protect her. She was trying to protect Lily from herself. Grant, Nathaniel said, what do we know? Grant checked his tablet. The email originated through an anonymous relay, but the photograph was taken yesterday afternoon from a property across the street. Who owns it? A holding company. Nathaniel's expression darkened. Find the owner. Alyssa picked up her bag. That doesn't change my decision. Then a wheelchair rolled softly across the floor behind them. Lily, are you leaving because of me? Alyssa immediately turned. No, sweetheart. Then why? Alyssa crouched in front of her. Because sometimes caring about someone means knowing when your presence might make things harder. Lily's eyes filled. Everybody leaves because things are hard. The sentence landed like glass breaking. Alyssa went still. Nathaniel looked away. Claire was gone. Friends had stopped visiting as often after the accident. Teachers came to the house instead of Lily returning to school. Without meaning to, everyone had taught her that difficulty made people disappear. Alyssa set down her bag. Look at me. Lily did. I am not ashamed of you. I am not afraid of your wheelchair. And I am not leaving because you are difficult. Then stay. Alyssa's eyes shimmered. Before she could answer, Grant's phone rang. He stepped aside, listened, then slowly looked toward Nathaniel. We found the holding company. Nathaniel's posture changed. Who owns it? Grant hesitated. Bennett Development. Silence swallowed the foyer. That's impossible, Nathaniel said. That company was dissolved after Claire died. Apparently not completely. Grant turned the tablet toward him. The remaining account authority belongs to Charles Voss. Nathaniel froze. Charles had been Claire's financial advisor. More than that, he had been one of the few people Nathaniel trusted after the accident. He had helped arrange Lily's medical accounts, insurance settlements, and accessibility renovations. Why would Charles care about Alyssa? Nathaniel asked. Grant scrolled through the records. Maybe he doesn't. Another document appeared. Lily's accident settlement created a protected trust. Claire's instructions gave you control while Lily remained medically dependent. But if Lily returns to school independently and her care status changes, outside trustees begin reviewing expenditures. Nathaniel's eyes sharpened. Expenditures controlled by Charles. Grant nodded. There are transfers I can't explain. Alyssa slowly stood. Suddenly, the attacks on her looked different. She wasn't dangerous because of her past. She was dangerous because Lily was changing, laughing, participating, asking about school again, wanting more independence. Someone had benefited from a child remaining isolated and dependent. Nathaniel's face became frighteningly calm. Get an independent forensic accountant. Preserve every record. Notify our attorney. Nobody confronts Voss until we have facts. Grant nodded and left. Alyssa watched Nathaniel carefully. This was the Mafia boss people whispered about, not shouting, not threatening, simply becoming still enough to make the entire room feel colder. Then Lily reached for his hand. Nathaniel looked down. His expression softened immediately. Daddy, yes. Am I causing trouble because I want my life back? Nathaniel knelt beside her, so quickly his knee struck the marble. Never. His voice broke. You hear me? Never. Lily nodded. Nathaniel looked toward Alyssa. You were right. About what? I kept trying to make her safe. He swallowed. I forgot to help her become free. Alyssa's eyes softened. Nathaniel rose and looked at the coat still hanging from her hand. I won't order you to stay. That surprised her. But if you leave, let it be your choice. Not because someone frightened you into disappearing. Alyssa looked at Lily, then at Nathaniel. Slowly, she removed her coat. I'll stay. Lily smiled. But Alyssa wasn't finished. On one condition. Nathaniel almost sighed. You always have conditions. Lily goes back to school when her medical team says she's ready, not when fear says she is. Nathaniel looked at his daughter. Lily held her breath. Then he nodded. Agreed. Lily threw both arms around him. Over her shoulder, Nathaniel met Alyssa's eyes. For the first time, he understood why someone wanted this woman gone. Alyssa hadn't taught Lily how to dance. She had reminded her that her life still belonged to her. And somewhere outside those guarded gates, a man who had profited from Lily's dependence was about to learn that the little girl he underestimated was no longer standing alone. Charles Voss arrived at the Bennett mansion believing he had been invited to discuss Lily's trust. He realized his mistake when he entered the library. Nathaniel stood beside the fireplace. Grant waited near the locked doors. Alyssa sat beside Lily's wheelchair, one hand resting quietly on the armrest. On the table lay 3 folders. Nathaniel, Charles said, forcing a smile. What is this? An opportunity. Nathaniel's voice was calm. To tell the truth. Charles glanced at Alyssa. In front of an entertainer? Alyssa felt the insult. She didn't react. Nathaniel did. In front of the woman you tried to discredit. Charles's smile disappeared. Grant opened the first folder. An independent forensic review had uncovered unauthorized payments from companies contracted to manage Lily's accessibility renovations and long-term care. The companies led through layers of paperwork to accounts controlled by Charles. The second folder contained records connecting him to the property across from the mansion. The third contained digital evidence tying his office to the campaign against Alyssa. Charles looked increasingly pale. You're misunderstanding routine financial arrangements. Then explain them, Nathaniel said. Charles tried. For 7 minutes, he buried theft beneath professional language. Administrative fees, consulting arrangements, emergency allocations. Nathaniel listened without interrupting. Then Grant placed one final document on the table. Charles stopped talking. You were taking money from my daughter's trust, Nathaniel said. Charles swallowed. I managed assets within my authority. And when Lily began talking about returning to school, you became concerned that independent trustees would examine those assets. Silence. Alyssa understood now. Her dancing had never been the threat. Lily's hope was. Charles looked toward Alyssa. She was disrupting a medically stable arrangement. Alyssa's eyes hardened. Her name is Lily. I know her name. Then say it like she's a child, not an account. Charles stared at her. Nathaniel's expression became colder. You sent her employment history to a reporter. I raised legitimate concerns. You had her photographed. I documented an outside influence. Lily's fingers curled around the arms of her wheelchair. Outside influence. Everyone turned. Lily looked directly at Charles. You mean Alyssa? Charles visibly struggled with being questioned by an 8-year-old. Your father has a responsibility to protect you. From what? He had no answer. Lily's voice became smaller, but steadier. From being happy. Nathaniel closed his eyes for half a second. Charles looked toward him. You're letting emotion interfere with judgment. Nathaniel opened his eyes. No. For 11 months, fear interfered with my judgment. He stepped toward the table. That made it easy for people like you to convince me that controlling Lily's life was the same as protecting it. Charles straightened. Be careful what you're accusing me of. Nathaniel almost smiled. I don't need to accuse you. He touched the folders. That's what evidence is for. He turned to Grant. Our attorneys have copies? Everything. The trustees. Notified. Good. Charles's composure finally cracked. After everything I did for this family, you did it for yourself. Nathaniel pointed toward the door. You will have no access to Lily, her accounts, or this property again. The rest will be handled legally. No threats. No violence. Just consequences. Grant opened the doors. Charles left beneath the eyes of the household staff he had once treated as invisible. The library remained silent after he disappeared. Then Alyssa stood. Lily. The girl looked at her. Do you still want to go back to school? Lily hesitated. Nathaniel waited. Months earlier, he would have answered for her. This time he didn't. Yes, Lily whispered. But I'm scared. Alyssa smiled gently. You can be scared and still go. Lily looked at her father. Nathaniel crouched beside her. We'll talk to your doctors. Your teachers. We'll make sure you have what you need. He paused. But the decision to try belongs to you. Lily's eyes filled with tears. Really? Really? She wrapped her arms around his neck. Nathaniel held her tightly. Over Lily's shoulder, his gaze found Alyssa. She was crying too. Later, after Lily went upstairs, Nathaniel found Alyssa alone in the ballroom, gathering the ribbons they had left there days earlier. You were right about something else, he said. Alyssa turned. That's becoming a habit. A faint smile crossed his face. I thought power meant making sure nothing happened that I didn't allow. He looked toward the staircase. You taught her something I couldn't. What? That needing help and having choices can exist at the same time. Alyssa's expression softened. Nathaniel stepped closer, then stopped at a respectful distance. And you taught me that protecting someone isn't the same as owning every decision around them. For a moment, neither spoke. Then music drifted faintly from upstairs. Lily had turned on their song. Alyssa smiled. Nathaniel looked toward the ceiling. She's dancing again. She never stopped. Nathaniel looked back at Alyssa. This time, he understood exactly what she meant. And somewhere between his daughter reclaiming her choices and a woman refusing to let fear define her, Nathaniel Bennett finally saw what had been changing all along. Not Lily's body, not Alyssa's past. Him. 3 months later, Lily Bennett returned to school. Nathaniel stood beside the black sedan that morning, watching his daughter stare through the gates at a building filled with children who hadn't seen her since the accident. Her hands gripped the wheels of her chair. "You don't have to go in today," he said. Lily looked up. "Are you scared?" Nathaniel almost denied it. Then he remembered everything Alyssa had taught them. "Yes." Lily smiled nervously. "Me too." Alyssa stepped beside her wearing a soft blue dress, her natural curls moving gently in the autumn breeze. "Good," she said. Nathaniel raised an eyebrow. "Good. Being brave would be terribly inconvenient if nobody was ever scared." Lily laughed. Then she rolled forward. Nathaniel's instinct screamed at him to follow. He stopped himself. Lily reached the accessible entrance. A teacher greeted her. 2 children came running. One hugged her. The other immediately began showing her something on a tablet. Lily looked back. Nathaniel lifted one hand. She waved, then disappeared inside. He stood motionless. Alyssa watched him carefully. "You okay?" "No," she smiled. "That might be progress." Nathaniel laughed quietly. The investigation into Charles Voss had continued through attorneys, trustees, and financial authorities. The stolen funds were being recovered, Lily's trust had independent oversight, and Nathaniel had ordered every family-controlled accessibility program reviewed. But the greatest change couldn't be measured on a balance sheet. Lily had choices again. She attended school 3 mornings each week. She continued physical therapy. And every Thursday, she attended Alyssa's inclusive dance program. Not because anyone expected dancing to change her diagnosis. Because joy didn't need to justify itself medically. Nathaniel became one of the program's largest anonymous donors. Alyssa discovered that anyway. "You're terrible." "At anonymous," she told him. "I've been called worse." "You're also not buying influence." "I learned that lesson." He had. When Nathaniel offered to pay Alyssa's remaining tuition for an adaptive movement certification, she refused. So he asked what would actually help. Alyssa gave him a list. Scholarships, accessible transportation, better flooring, equipment. Nathaniel funded the center instead. No building carried his name. That mattered to her. And because it mattered to her, it mattered to him. 6 months after Lily's birthday, the community center held its spring showcase. Nathaniel sat in the front row. Lily waited backstage with 12 other children. Alyssa stood beside them in a deep green dress, beautiful, plus size, radiant, and completely at ease in the body the world had too often judged before noticing the woman inside it. The lights dimmed. Music began. Lily rolled onto the stage. Her arms lifted. Silver ribbons caught the light. The audience became silent. Then Lily danced. Not despite her wheelchair. Not around it. With it. Her chair turned beneath sweeping ribbons while other children moved around her, each performing according to their own bodies. Nathaniel's eyes filled. He didn't hide it. When the music ended, the room erupted. Lily searched the audience. She found her father standing, applauding, crying, smiling. Afterward, Lily disappeared with her friends, leaving Nathaniel and Alyssa beneath the fading stage lights. "You changed her life," he said. Alyssa shook her head. No, Nathaniel smiled. He knew that answer now. She changed her own life. Exactly. He looked at Alyssa. "Then you changed mine." Her expression softened. "Nathaniel, I spent years believing people stayed because they feared me, needed me, or owed me." He stepped closer. "You stayed when leaving would have been easier." "I stayed for Lily." "I know." That answer mattered. Nathaniel extended his hand, not taking hers, offering his. "And now?" Alyssa looked at it, then at him. "Now what? Would you have dinner with me?" A smile slowly appeared across her face. "No security briefings? No background checks?" He winced. One was enough. No business arrangement, just dinner. Alyssa placed her hand in his. "One dinner." From across the room, Lily shouted, "Finally." Alyssa burst out laughing. Nathaniel closed his eyes. She's been planning this. Apparently everyone has. He looked at Alyssa again. Months earlier, he had walked into a room and seen a plus-size entertainer dancing beside his paralyzed daughter. He had thought the miracle was Lily's laughter. He understood differently now. The miracle was never that Alyssa taught Lily to move. She taught a frightened family that a changed life was still a life worthy of joy, choice, dignity, and love. And Nathaniel learned that protecting someone didn't mean building walls around them. Sometimes it meant standing beside the open door and having the courage to let them through.